Future.
Mr. Stobart.
I hope Mr. Stobart isn't listening to this and heard you say funnest.
It's late. It's been a long year.
It is late, and it has been a long year.
First I said $30.
But you know what? Like we've been going for almost 3 hours. Like I'm surprised that's all we've done. Like I'm sure when I listen to this pod on Sunday, I'm going to be like, this is unintelligible. You know, I thought San Jose, like to me, they're similar as Chicago. I think the one thing that San Jose's done a bit better than Chicago is some of the veterans that they've made their bets on, like Tyler Toffoli. He was perfect for them last year on and off the ice. Like that was a home run. Alex Wenberg, I thought that was a good fit for San Jose. And even some of the other guys they've brought in, there's not a lot of term there, right? Adam Gaudette, who they signed this year, Dmitry Orlov and John Klingberg, who they signed this year. I even like the Nedeljkovic trade. Like I think he's a really good partner for Askarov. So like I like San Jose's moves to bolster. Look, like the Blackhawks, Celebrini, another level. Eklund, another level. Will Smith, another level. You know, one of the guys who used to play in San Jose told me that the thing with Smith was you kind of wondered if he believed he was good enough to make an impact. And in the second half last year, you saw that belief begin to manifest itself. Now, I don't think anybody knows yet for sure, is he a center or is he a winger? But at least now they started to see the belief in him. Yes, I can play at this level, although obviously I have a lot of work to do. They got a lot of D now, a lot of D. Like whether it's Thrun or Thompson or Liljegren or Ferraro, something's going to have to give here. I can't see them trading Mukhamadullin. I think, you know, he stays. But if they want to add another forward, I could see them saying, look, we got a lot of defensemen here, and we got to find a spot for one of them because, you know, a couple guys here aren't going to play. They just got too many bodies.
A lot of good things going for them in San Jose. Absolutely, they do. And even like just dating back to, you can see already the influence of the Joe Thorntons and the Patrick Marleaus of the world, like, and of course Toffoli for present day players. But just seeing the younger players, and as you say, that's a really cool story about Will Smith, about finding the belief as the season has gone on that, yeah, he can hang at this level and against some of the competition he's seeing every night. And no question with some of the former players now, you know, alumni that are around them quite often, there's got to be a big influence there as well. That's pretty neat.
All right, where are we going?
Seattle Kraken. So Ryan Lindgren, Matt Murray into the fold. Lane Lambert's their new head coach. They were another team that, I mean, handed out a couple of big contracts last summer, but sounds like Jason Botterill is prioritizing developing the young players they have in-house right now. Where are you at with Seattle?
So this team took some criticism that I didn't understand. You know, someone said to me, are you surprised that the Kraken drafted another center? They took Jake O'Brien, 8th overall in the first round. And I said, what's the big deal? And someone said, well, look at their depth chart. They've got, you know, obviously they've got Beniers, and they've also got Shane Wright. And I was like, yeah. And they've also got Chandler Stevenson signed long-term, and they just traded for Freddie Goodrow. And I'm like, well, you know, Jake O'Brien probably won't be ready yet. And besides, like, how many teams in this league are looking for centers? There's like 25 teams in this league looking for centers. You can't have enough centers. I was surprised at the criticism. Like like the two hardest things to find are centers and right shot defensemen, right? So I don't understand how anybody could have a problem with them, like trying to hit on as many centers as they possibly can. So that one kind of confused me. It reminded me of one of my favorite basketball stories. And I'm not trying to say that Jake O'Brien is Michael Jordan, but in 1984 at the NBA draft there, people knew that Houston was taking Akeem Olajuwon number 1, and Bob Knight, the former basketball coach in Indiana, he was friends with the Portland GM, and they had the number 2 pick, and he goes, who are you going to take? And you're going to take Michael Jordan, right? And he goes, no, we need a center. I think we're going to take Sam Bowie. And apparently Bob Knight said to him, are you nuts? He said, if you need a center, draft Michael Jordan and play him at center. Like, not pick Michael Jordan. And I've always loved that story. Not that Jake O'Brien's Michael Jordan, but it's like, you know, take the best player, especially if the best player is a center. Like, you cannot find these guys enough. Seattle, to me, is trying to create identity for themselves. You know, Mason Marchment, everybody knows Mason Marchment. Everybody. I've said this a few times this year. They added Lindgren. It makes me wonder a little bit about Alexiak's future. He's got 1 year left, and now Lindgren's signed for 4. And, you know, Alexiak, I know there was a lot of interest in him at the deadline last year, although ultimately Seattle decided not to do it. So that's one question I kind of have after this. But they, in a league that needs meanness and values meanness, they've added some. And it's interesting. We talked about Edmonton. They decided to do a philosophical change at the goalie coach position and hope that helps. I thought that they would buy out Grubauer. They didn't. They hired a new goalie coach there, and they're hoping that's going to work. Again, it's always better to solve your problems as opposed to trade for them or buy them out. So we'll see how that works. The one thing I think about Seattle is I do think they thought about Kyrou, and they ultimately decided not to do it. I don't know this, but I suspect that would have cost them the pick that turned into O'Brien, the 8th overall pick. So I can understand why they didn't do it, but like a pure scorer like that, I can understand why they thought long and hard about it.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a few teams that were looking at that too, absolutely. And Seattle especially, as they're trying to get themselves back on track and build themselves a bit of an identity, as you say. Okay, Elliot, the Vancouver Canucks, couple teams left here. So Brock Besser, at the end of all that, ends up re-signing for 7 years. And initially I thought it was kind of like Cameron and Bianca from 10 Things I Hate About You. Familiar with that movie?
God,
it's like
what a reference.
The Canucks eventually realized the player loved playing there, wanted to stay there, and that he was better than what they thought might have been out there otherwise. And then as I thought more about it, I kind of wondered, well, did the Canucks know full well that Besser wanted to be there all along and tried to take advantage of it right to the 11th hour? How did this all play out?
I think there's definitely truth to that. There's no doubt in my mind with 2020 hindsight that Jim Rutherford knew he could go back to this if he wanted to. And I didn't see it coming. When it happened, it fooled me. I was like, what? Wow. And, you know, to Murph, to his credit, he was on it. You could tell he knew on Tuesday morning that it could happen. But the